Oh, right, here we go. But I saw this yesterday. This sort of sneaked out yesterday, and of course, as you know, this time next week we will have a new government. Hooray! um, of course, we'll still be dealing with Brexit. Hooroo! Uh, but there has been something that you've heard something talk about this way before, that when Labour are sort of worried that maybe the Conservatives have sort of left traps maybe in their well attempt to sort of get out and do stuff and maybe undermine stuff. I mean, you've even got Rishi Sunak recently talking about, oh well, they'll be within trouble within the first 100 days. So it's sort of something you should be suspicious about and something you should be like, that's a bit odd. But this comes up out of nowhere about the UK US trade deal and the UK sacking all its US people involved in those negotiations. Now, that to me is a bit shocking, because why would the government, and particularly Badnoch, just go and completely sack your entire negotiating team for a UK US trade deal? I have no idea why this has happened, and not a lot of people are talking about it because it's literally just come out in the last couple of hours. But like I say, last week of the general election, all the news stories, of course, take precedence sometimes over this sometimes, but this is weird. This is really weird for this to just randomly happen. But before we do go getting into this, of course, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page, the one donation link, or Buy Me Coffee, or you can buy me a coffee, the YouTube thank you button as well, and of course the Pony Club down below as well. So thank you very much to all those people who do help support the channel. And on with today's show. So this is what we've got. So this comes from The Guardian as disbelief as US UK trade deals under threat after Britain axes its negotiators. What why would they do this? Like, why would they just out of nowhere just axe all your negotiators? It's what's gone on here? So America was meant to be Britain's route to the sunlit uplands of Brexit. Then, after the hopes of the free trade deal evaporated, successive Conservative governments have now set their sights lower by trying to forge closer ties with individual US states. And we've seen that with the, what they call now I don't know, so the acts of friendship, which basically mean nothing. We'll have closer cooperation, but effectively it's sort of a useless piece of paper. Like I say, only the federal government can really decide what trade deals are, and the influence that will have on the rest of sort of the states. States don't really get a say in foreign trade. That's how the government works. But they've done this, I think, or at least their attempt to do it was to try and get this trade deal to basically go, oh look, but we've got all these states saying, yeah, we want a free trade deal. So I think it was an attempt to try and hurry that along. But this is where it gets interesting. Now, the civil servants responsible for delivering those state level deals have been let go in what a furious British businessman has described as an act of arson. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is why they've done it. Maybe they just did it just out of pure spite. Maybe Kimmy Badnoch just did this out of pure spite so that she can go, maybe when she's leader of the opposition, can go, oh, look at all these, quote, trade deals I got signed. Look at all these memorandums of understanding. That was it. Memorandums of understanding I got signed with America. Meanwhile, of course, she was walking out of the business and trade office lighting a match and just throwing it out on her way out. Makes you wonder, what other departments they've done stuff like this in as well. And I think there is now every right to be worried about what else they could have done in some of these departments. Maybe on, like I say, on their way out, just to do this purely out of spite because they knew they were going to lose, just to cause some sort of trouble when Labour got in. So it continues. Nearly a seventh of these trade policies with the British consulates in the US have been axed. So nearly a seventh of trade posts have been completely axed, and 24 people have lost their jobs. 18 from 139 posts in the trade department. The decision was taken barely 2 weeks before Rishi Sunak called the general election. Really suspicious timing. Now, maybe this was going to happen. Maybe this was going to happen already, because maybe they were realizing, well, actually, we can't do this. We can't really achieve this. We're just going to give up. But to do it 2 weeks before Rishi Sunak called the general election, again, I don't know. Color me, I am highly skeptical, highly skeptical that this was done in this way. So many of the trade teams based in the 9 consulates across the US have now worked on trade pacts with Kimi Badnoch, and the Business and Trade Secretary now jetting around America to sign the memorandums of understanding with governors of states including Florida, Indiana, and Oklahoma. But more importantly, according to the British business leaders in the US, the regional trade directors and their staff had over decades worth of experience and had built up contacts with American businesses from Google and Meta to the heads of Hollywood studios. So that is knowledge and contacts that have just been lost. Just completely lost. That's really bad. That's really bad. Because if you want those companies to come and invest in the UK, you need those people with those experience to be talking to those businesses to get them over to come and invest in the UK. So Jules Earhart, a designer and innovator, said that it was complete outrage and disbelief in the British business community at this decision, saying they are tossing out the collective centuries of regional and institutional knowledge, a core to the UK-US trading relationship, said Earhart. We'll move to the US in 2012 to open an American arm of Unsu, a digital design studio behind the award-winning video games such as Momentum Valley, and worked with Google, Nike, and Twitter before founding the venture capital firm Filtree. But I agree with him. Why on earth would you do that? Why on earth would you get rid of all these people who have such good contacts? That doesn't make a lot of sense. He said that the consulate directors had, quote, served as a connective tissue between British and American business leaders, making introductions, giving advice, and lending their expertise, saying we've now shot ourselves in both feet by undermining Britain's gateway to Europe status for the American companies following Brexit. And we were told then to go west. And now we've self-elected. We've now had a self-elected lobotomy, Elmhurt said. Which again is true. That's what we were. We were the gateway to Europe. That's how we sold ourselves constantly around the world. And then after Brexit, all the conservative sort of strategy was go west, go to America, sort your stuff out there. And now, out of nowhere, by the looks of this, all these people have just been completely axed, which is going to have big impacts on any, British company that has bases both in here and America. Because that expertise in America to help British companies set up or do business in America, gone. Anyway, he continues. This is an act of arson in the final stages of this government. We claim it is a special relationship, yet more of our people are at the very heart of it. Alan Rooney, the founder of Rooney Law, which has helped more than over 300 companies from the UK, Ireland, and Australia enter the US market, said that the directors were absolutely critical in building these strong and mutually beneficial trade relationships with UK and US businesses, saying the facilitation of strategic introductions that these directors provide is a massive benefit. He said they plug companies into the market they otherwise do not know anything about. They familiarize them with trade missions and other methods to then support and understand the market and the subtle differences between the US and the UK in doing business and their culture. Removing this layer will impact trade relations. So it is. It honestly is. This is just the best way to describe it. It is just an act of arson because you have lost such knowledge, such introductions, and getting those people back is not going to be very easy because they've probably gone and got other jobs or other opportunities, and getting those people back, getting all that knowledge back, rebuilding all those connections, it's going to be infinitely harder now. So it continues. More than over 1 million Brits are now employed by American businesses, and I cannot think of a more important trade relationship post Brexit. It's critical, and I think the removal of these very large swathes of intellectual capital and in institutional knowledge is now potentially worrisome. It could strain the trade terms who are already now on short resources. So, yeah, Timmy Badnoch destroying a department, or at least that entire relationship on her way out. That's really shocking. I'm really shocked this hasn't been called out, honestly. I think this should have gotten a lot more attention than it should have. Another US based British business executive said that there was now very little stability in the UK's consulates because they were usually staffed by Foreign and Commonwealth Office officials who stayed in the US for up to 4-year periods, saying it is a constant revolving door, the executive said. They are the people who we lean on. William Bain, the head of trade policy at the British Chamber of Commerce, said, if we want to grow our economy, and then we need to boost our trade. So it is a concern if cuts are being made to the key teams supporting export sectors in the US, our second largest trading partner. We need to scale up, not slash, for our support for companies now seeking to enter or even raise market share in the US. This is especially true if we hope to see the deals of these critical materials and digital trade reach within the US federal government in the next few years or so. Why did they do this? Again, I can only think it's just a pure act of arson, just out of spite. But to say you are cutting so much knowledge and stuff from this is just unbelievable. And as I said, second largest trading partner, people who's just been said there that companies lean on, that they need to get that expertise to have those key crucial introductions, gone. I cannot believe they've done this, but I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, honestly. But there you go. Boris Johnson and Liam Fox and other Brexiteers had obviously hoped to try and sign a trade deal with the US that would provide economic growth for the UK, but Johnson failed to persuade either Donald Trump or Joe Biden. And last June, Rishi Sunak signed the Atlantic Declaration, which allowed UK firms to access some US subsidies. Some state-level deals have seen some recognition of British professional qualifications and removed some regulatory barriers. A UK government spokesperson said, and this one will get the excuse I can predict, the UK's trade and investment teams in America are now fully focused on furthering UK interests in the US, driving investment and strengthening trade relationships with our closest ally. We continue to keep our structures under review to ensure that they deliver maximum impact for the UK, especially the highest quality service to businesses, which is offering taxpayers the very best value for money. Budget cuts. Budget cuts. That's what it seems to me. But again, it will be a UK government spokesperson, so it would be probably someone within that department. what do? We can't really tell them the truth, you know? So, uh, I'm sure we'll find out afterwards in a couple of weeks, maybe. But no, this is I agree. I agree with the businessman there. This is just a pure act of arson. This really does seem like it. Um, why haven't you cut other trade? If because America, as it was pointed out, second largest trading partner. And bear in mind, we have these teams out all over the world. So why maybe not slim down teams other elsewhere to improve the US so that could continue to run? Because otherwise, as someone else mentioned there, you've lost almost a century's worth of expertise, meetings, informants, connections gone. And that's going to affect a lot of British businesses. A lot of British businesses. But yeah, wow. Let me know what you think down below. But honestly, this really does seem just like an absolute act of arson. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do click on the like and share button on your way out. And of course, down below, there's the Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link, all that stuff down below. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.